Shrek became a project when producer John H. Williams got access of the book from his children and gave it to Katzenberg, who wanted to make a film about it. He went right to work to buy the rights and started in November of 1995. This works out perfectly for them, because Spielberg bought the rights for it in 1991 to make an adaptation of Shrek, which was before he founded DreamWorks, while Bill Murray would play Shrek and Steve Martin plays Donkey. There was some slight clashing between Katzenberg and director Andrew Adamson about the amount of sexual content that should be in the film. This caused another director, Kelly Ashburn, to join in '97, but Adamson left in '98 to work on Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and was replaced by Vicky Jensen. Inspiration for the setting of the film came when they visited Hearst Castle, Stratford upon Avon, and Doradong for the castles, and Charleston, South Carolina for the swamp. Shrek was going to be a live-action and CGI hybrid, but when a test run was recorded in May 1997, it was agreed upon that it was horrible and that it should be completely CGI. This caused the film to be given to Pacific Data Images while ants were still in production. They had to upgrade a lot of programs due to animating realistic animals and beings instead of ants to capture better movement. Nicolas Cage was offered the role of Shrek, but he turned it down because he did not like the thought of appearing as an ogre. This caused them to give the role to Chris Farley, who recorded most of the dialogue before passing away in late 1997. We all know that Mike Myers ended up as Shrek and recorded the dialogue in his normal tone, but re-recorded it with a Scottish accent after thinking something was missing. Alongside Farley, Janan Garofalo was cast to be Fiona, but was fired with little to no explanation, to be replaced by Cameron Diaz. Shrek reads a book about a fairy tale that will be reminiscent to one of our main character stories. DreamWorks then entered the arbitrary Disney insult.
Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen. What a load of...
We see how Shrek lives in isolation, and how people want to ransack and torture him. Shrek prefers to live alone because he knows what to expect. Fairy tale characters are being sold off and captured, only for most of them to be placed in Shrek's cottage. Lord Farquaad chooses Princess Fiona as his future bride, and creates a tournament where the winning knight will go fetch for her, and be rewarded some sort of prize. After the fairy tale creatures swarm Shrek's swamp, Shrek and Donkey, who is one of the fairy tale characters who ran off to avoid being sold off, goes to Dula to tell Farquaad to get the creatures off his swamp. After defeating the knights, Shrek and Donkey are sent by Farquaad to get Fiona, and only then will he get the fairy tales off Shrek's swamp. Shrek's want is for things to go back to the way they were, but his need is to be open and to welcome people. Shrek and Donkey continue their irritating dialogue with one another, as Donkey wants to be friends, but of course Shrek refuses, because he's an ogre. We finally meet Princess Fiona, who is extremely conventional about what she expects from being not only a princess, but a supposed fairy tale character. Now that the three of them are stuck with one another, Fiona and Shrek consistently argue about their ideals about life, as Shrek is more pessimistic while Fiona is more conventional and optimistic. It is the typical argue then fall in love trope. Shrek and Donkey's tension disappears and the two legitimately bond. Ironically enough, the first culmination is given to Fiona instead of Shrek. Robin Hood and company decide to miraculously kidnap Fiona for some miraculous reason. I don't really know why. And instead of Shrek and Donkey defeating them, Fiona single-handedly beats up all of them, which shocks Donkey and Shrek. Shrek becomes intrigued by Fiona and an attraction starts between the two of them. Shrek and Fiona come up with reasons for Donkey to leave through various times after this, so the two can hang out and bond. We learn that if you look beyond their looks, the two have more in common than people would assume. Ugh, this sequence is just a stupid misunderstanding plot. Donkey realizes that Fiona is an ogre, as she was cursed to turn into one every single night. The two bond about her situation, where Shrek overhears them talk about her, but he assumes they are talking about him, which causes him to be mad at both of them. He fetches Lord Farquaad and his knights to retrieve her early, and he wants nothing to do with either one of them, claiming that he's better off alone. This sequence starts with our three characters being increasingly sad due to them all being split apart and not getting what they initially wanted. Everything, of course, gets cleared up when Donkey and Shrek finally discuss what happened. Of course, they show up, but Fiona and Farquaad are already married. Fiona turns into an ogre since it's sunset. Farquaad, of course, has them put away to be punished before Dragon, who Donkey fell in love with earlier, swallows Lord Farquaad whole. Fiona's kiss with Shrek causes her to stay as an ogre, and the two marry in front of all the fairy tale mythical creatures at a swamp. We are then dealt with what would become the arbitrary DreamWorks dance and scene. What I like about Shrek is that it does address fairy tale tropes. In regards to Princess Fiona, I found it to be extremely unique because we see that she was raised to have certain standards, and there's a naivete regarding her, which is cleverly handled. She is still naive, but we learn that there's more to her than that. When carrying the subverting the message like that, it works. I'll get to certain aspects where I did not like the subverting. DreamWorks has a tendency to have main characters that embraces their weirdness and truly being outcast. Shrek embraces his weird qualities, Fiona embraces her weird qualities, and Donkey very much embraces his special gift of talking. I have to say that DreamWorks does carry off the message of truly being an oddball a lot better than Disney does. Unlike most animated films, this film has a very small cast, with four main characters. This gives the characters and the film a lot more focus, as there's no need to counterbalance between a bunch of characters, especially characters that don't really matter. We get to know these four characters, and you get to feel something worthwhile about each and every single one of them. I wish more animated films had smaller casts like this. The plot is pretty simple, but has a lot of depth to it. I don't mind a thin plot if there's a lot of context within it and it's well paced. This is why I had a bit of an issue with The Road to El Dorado instead of Shrek. Since this is early DreamWorks, there is still a lot of adult content in the film, though some of it is very disturbing.
Mirror, mirror, show her to me. Show me the princess. Perfect.
There are some clever uses of curse words, and they don't filter themselves or oversaturate it with the language. There is a strong and consistent balance between drama and comedy within the film, which is something that is becoming extremely rare in animation. A lot of it may have to do with the music, but there's a lot of versatility with the characters and how they react to the situations they find themselves in. Remember when I mentioned how I mix on the satirical aspects, right? What I didn't like was the very blatant anti-Disney disses throughout the entire film. Most of them weren't funny, and it kind of made them look petty at best. This, like Ant, has an anti-Disney feeling all throughout it, and I just wish it focused more on itself than dissing others. And the comedy is what I mostly have an issue with in the film. A lot of it is Murphy and Myers' rambling and whatever that does not really add anything, and kind of drags down the pacing in the film. It just isn't funny, and it's pretty easy for me to lose my attention and to cause me to roll my eyes with some of the blatant references. Since this contained most of the comedy, I found myself groaning more than laughing. When they were subtle, it worked, and that's when I thought they were the most funny. But most times they aren't subtle. Overall, the film just hasn't aged well, especially regarding the animation. It is not bad, you can definitely tell that it was made in the early 2000s and the late 90s. A lot of the script and the music has a late 90s to early 2000s feel to it, and whenever I watch the film, I realize more and more how this film isn't timeless in any sense. When Shrek was released in May of 2001, it opened strongly and competed head to toe with Pearl Harbor. A few weeks later, Disney's Atlantis The Lost Empire premiered, and I'll just let this describe what Shrek did to it. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But not for DreamWorks. Not only was this the moment where DreamWorks, Katzenberg beat Disney, Eisner, but it was also the moment that signaled the direction that DreamWorks and animation in general needed to go. Meaning, CGI was in and traditional animation was out. There was no more room for them to compete with each other. Shrek was the big winner of 2001. Not only did it signify the moment where DreamWorks beat out Disney Animation Studios, but also Pixar with their release of Monsters Inc. Katzenberg finally won up his old company, and the company was at their highest point yet. Shrek ended up making over $480 million worldwide, doubling the amount from The Prince of Egypt and tripling the amount from Ants. With these numbers, it is obvious what direction DreamWorks animation will go in the future. There was some doubt about traditional animation, especially after the performance of The Road to El Dorado and its Disney subsidiaries. Even today, Shrek still has a huge impact on pop culture and the general audience, as it has now become the symbol of DreamWorks animation and is their very first franchise. While, in my opinion, it has not aged well at all, there is still a lot of clever writing and heart in the film. There is definitely enough to overlook the flaws in the film, and for starting the staples that are in almost every single animated film nowadays. Shrek has the mix of the good and bad regarding animated films in the millennium age of animation, and as we go along in the franchise, more and more of the good is removed. This film is debatably the most important in DreamWorks animation history, and there is something to like about it for everyone. It is too bad that it only sped up the downhill trend of traditional animation for the company, which is fast approaching. But they did have a plan just in case their next two films flopped.